probably feeling like this is a good map for them. They look pretty clean overall. You know, a few hairy moments here and there, but their dominance based on the last round, they want to just be taking this straight in to this game and start off very, very strong.
Yeah, and okay, so for those who didn't hear, because I think the stream was slightly muted, I think we should try to run down the rosters one more time, and I'll start off with the Frenchies again. We got QB and Juxta on your scouts. Duo and Raf are your soldiers. Demo Man is going to be Delhi, and then Medic will be Vachuli. And if you could run down the Germans one more time for me, Dave.
Yeah, it's Voxy and Shocky on the scouts. It's Fishkoff and KN on the soldiers. It's Philip on the Demoman and Corndog on the medic class.
Yeah, and we'll go over the map pool one more time. It's going to be the Frenchies picking Sunshine. The Germans are going to pick Process, and then should we have to decide things on a third map, it'll be Product. First impressions on the map pool, Dave. I'm probably going to say, with how Shocky and Voxy have been playing, I would definitely favor them, especially after seeing it how they played Sunshine versus Alien Workshop. Then again, we did not catch too much of 3.5 stars upper bracket match versus the last resort, so we can only go off of recency bias, at least for me, who is not too knowledgeable about both of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, we just look back to that last game for the Germans. It looked pretty solid on this map. So interesting that the Frenchies would pick it. I think certainly the Germans will be happy, I think, coming straight back to this map that they've just played and they've just kind of had a blast on. And yeah, if Kane is in any kind of the form as we saw in that last round, he is probably going to be a difference maker here.
Yeah, and in the meanwhile, obviously, we will give a shout out to our brother stream Essentials TF, and shout out to JMax for giving Fireside the opportunity to be the B stream for this LAN tournament, as they are casting the upper bracket finals. So there is double the action that you can watch if you have a Twitch party viewer where you can watch multiple streams. You could watch the Essentials TF stream and this stream to catch all the action. I think the only match that isn't being covered right now on stream is the Nandum versus Mandum lower bracket round 3 match, which in theory should favor the Mandum squad, as it is essentially a premiership squad versus a Div 1 squad. But either way, we have all 12 players in the server. Let's do some quick predictions for Sunshine here. I mean, just based off what I saw from Voxy, Shocky, and KN on Sunshine, I have to go with the Germans and the Brits here. I'll probably give it a low scoreline here, just because of the nature and the implications of this match. You know, there cannot be too many risk-taking plays here by both sides, given that one small mistake could snowball into a collapse and maybe them costing their chances in this tournament. So I'll go probably 3-1 for the Germans. I'm going to be looking at Voxy and KN as the power players for their side.
I'm going to pretty much agree with that. I think maybe 3-2 to the Germans. I think we'll have a decent amount of rounds. It's only really the last point that this map stalemates on a bit. The rest of the map is kind of usually fast-paced. There's different options, there's different possibilities, and, you know, we're probably going to see a lot of action, a lot of frags, and I imagine it will be pretty evenly closed based on what, pretty evenly matched based on what we've seen from the two teams so far this tournament.
Yeah, one of the big things that I do think will be a redeeming factor for 3.5 stars here in this map is that I've been very impressed in the soldier play of Duo and Raf. Feels like while they did start off the tournament a bit jittery, especially in that Granary match versus Veritas, they were able to reclaim some of their glory there, especially when you saw that the mental fortitude they had to come back in their opening playoffs match against TF2 Hard, where they did go down 0-5 on the first map, and then they were able to bring it back on Bagel and on Snakewater to advance to the upper bracket semifinals. But here we are now. We are currently on Sunshine. This is the stage set to play to open this lower bracket round 3 match. And both teams are just still talking about what they want to do to start off this series, as we are live now in the first map. It is 3.5 stars on blue, the Frenchies repping that, and then the Germans and Brits will represent red. Veritas take away this first mid. I'm excited to see what goes on.
Yeah, once more, Philip is a lot faster than his demo man counterpart. That's been a consistent story on these mid-fights. He's able to get a lot of stickies down on that flowers area before Patchouli can even walk through. There's now a big bomb coming in from Fishkoff, going in behind, taking out Patchouli. Deli is down as well. It's just a case of can they keep Condog alive, and I don't think there's anyone in position, really. Just one soldier. Actually, no, really good encirclement. The other soldier, Dwo, came in as Raf pinned Condog into the cafe area. It was actually a big flank from Dwo from the other entrance, and there was nowhere for Condog to hide.
Yeah, despite Patchouli getting ensnared into that valley choke point, Duo finds an immediate flank in towards Cafe, and Condog just walks right into the waiting arms of his original rocket launcher. And 3.5 stars, despite seeming like they would be pushed back to their last immediately, are actually on the front foot right now to stay on their second. They would had a chance to get into mid, but because of those forward spawns from capping mid, Veritas are able to quickly retake mid after capping it.
Yeah, they must be aware that there's a decent Uber advantage for Patchouli here, so Condog has to be a little bit careful. They're actually peeking quite close, so they're really kind of disrespecting at the moment. If the Frenchies have their wits about them, they'll know that there is an advantage they could make work, but at the moment just looks like they're happy to not really risk it, just set up on second, set up the hold, and it doesn't look like they're looking to move anywhere.
Yeah, Condog now having his Uber online. Dwell is peeking into Valley, just seeing where DOS are starting to prime their pressure in towards it. Shocky is trying to force Dwell off with the help of Fishkoff as Philip. Oh wait, there was some traps in towards the rock and towards the medium health pack. That does get the pick on the flank of Veritas, but Kan answers back with a frag. But this heavy pressure is leading to Dwell high bombing straight onto point. Finds Voxy, but not Condog, but will settle for the kill onto Philip.
Yeah, that is going to allow them to just surge in through this choke. Condog's caught slightly awkwardly out in the open, nowhere for him to escape, so he's just going to have to use the Uber out, but it's a much later pop while they're milking Patchouli, and despite the fact they're not really chasing, they're not really going deep, they'll be happy to settle up for the mid-fight. They still have a player advantage here as their spawner comes up, so... I mean, with them not quite getting the forward spawn here, it might just settle down at relatively even Ubers once more. But yeah, definitely it's slow and steady at the moment by the Frenchies.
Yeah, the Frenchies have always been on the back foot, but now they put their foot in the other shoe, and now they are a step ahead of the game as they are now finally reclaiming mid, and they are starting to begin their pressure into second, as earlier on, Dwell had been trying to pressure in towards Cafe, but did meet Philip and a soldier, so he will think otherwise and rotate back for heals. We're looking just to see exchange of spam between the demos at the choke point, with Philip sticking up that choke point. And with Dwo and Juxta and Patchouli leaning towards Flowers now, it looks like they're going to send most of their resources there to maybe get a soldier in through Valley or choke.
Yeah, both teams just making sure they both have Uber before they throw any pieces forward, and it's going to be Raf jumping in, trying to make some space, but QB's gone down. I think to a sticky trap while that has happened, so that's now basically 2 players down and not even really an attempt at a sack. They're thinking about jumping the choke, but it's actually allowed Fishkoff to come in, get the force out of Patchouli. Kayan has gone down as well, so both soldiers are out of the fight, out of the count, but Condog has just held safely onto this Uber. Taking a little sticky there, is going to have to get a pack, but once those soldiers are up, they're going to be able to go with this Uber advantage.
Yeah, just very unfortunate positioning from Patchouli there. It looked like he wanted to go for that exchange, but at the same time, Fish and Kaon with a coordinated fade bomb from Cafe and through Flowers was able to center off Patchouli and get that force. As the Germans look to use in through Valley, they're going to use straight through right around the corner, but Philip actually gets stalwarted. His momentum in the air is stopped and he doesn't get enough distance, but as a consolation prize, KN and Fishkoff from Cafe and Red Tetris do get the kill onto Duo, but that's all they'll get, as this should be a leapfrog scenario.
Yeah, I've been seeing Philip favouring these kind of double sticky entrances as the main spear for his team, but didn't really get the ascent that he would have wanted there, didn't really get the forward thrust that you need to really lock players down. It's very easy for the Frenchies to scoot back. They're taking their time about this. They do know they have an ad, but it is dwindling if they are going to take it as slow as they are. Delhi is peaking, but they're really kind of telegraphing their entrance, taking it very slow, and Corndog is very close to Uber here.
Yeah, there is KN on the bell tower here, gets shot off by Dwo and might go down, but it looks like Kondog is coming up on the Uber, and Voxy is calling for the cavalry to stay in this fight as he leads the charge. Popping first are the Germans, and then eventually the counter pop from the French will come out towards the blue choke area, and Voxy is overstaying his welcome here. No, will manage to actually get out after the Uber fades, and KN and Co. and Voxy will be able to reclaim this mid away from the Frenchies.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone went down in that fight, but it's just a case of the Frenchies taking too long, just waiting around, waiting in choke points, eating spam together, and eventually, you know, they did get the entrance, but they didn't really fully force the Germans out of the fight, and kind of getting up on the Uber is going to allow them to equalize things, allow them to keep control of the mid-fight, and now perhaps it's their turn to try and make things happen with some kind of sack.
Yeah, instead of opting for the flowers sack from the soldiers, KN is going to try to get onto this wooden fence and make some space, but immediately shot out by QB with the help of some projectile spam, as Dwo and QB, they're already getting onto Fishkoff, who is down to half HP, and Rav is going to jump in through choke, land onto Philip, who is taking an insane amount of damage with some coordinated focus. They do get Philip, and so many players are low on the German side.
Really good utilization of the damage that they've got now, and it's going to be Delhi looking to surge forward, going to lock players out of flowers. It's not going to super chase deep, knowing that he'd done his job in terms of making sure they were not going to re-enter mid, and Uber's up for both teams, but already the Frenchies are moving through this choke point.
Oh, they definitely are, as both soldiers are in straight onto Kondog, who hits a surf and is propelled into a straight line above the sky and does have to eventually use. Dwo will fall for that as Juxa is fighting against Fishkoff in Valley, but will disengage from the fight. In the meanwhile, QB had gone down in the midst of that pressure, but it looks like the Germans do not want to press the issue, and they will let 3.5 stars regain their breath on mid with full Uber ad.
Yeah, I think Delhi just rotated over to that cafe, and there was so many players bunched up there, he smelt the damage that he would have been able to do. So Germans just back out. They don't want to walk into a single demo man. Weren't quite able to bust that despite the numbers. And actually, yeah, because Patchouli has this Uber still, they're just going to have to give it up, settle for last. Kondog is close to Uber, but we'll see if the Frenchies still have a window to move with.
Yeah, there's only a 10% margin to work with, and with QB, who was supposed to be used on first, leading that Uber going down, that means this Uber is now gone away, or this Uber push plan has gone away for the Frenchies, and they will not be using. And instead, they will send a sack straight into Kondog, but no damage has been dealt. We do have the Voxy Spy waiting for the fallback and relaying the information of the combo being back on plat, and he's crouching, waiting for his time to strike.
Yeah, but he's just going to get bumped, sadly, by Juxta. He's going to get cleaned up. Actually, Delhi has gone down to his Demoman counterparts. Pipes just peeking out from that shutter, taking the Demoman out. And it's going to certainly open the entrances now. That main shutter entrance, no one there to lock it down. They're still continuing to fight. Nice rocket! I believe that was a KN once more hitting an air shot onto a scout, but it isn't going to result in a frag.
In the meanwhile, Fishkoff did deny the potential backcap threat by Juxta, as now left side lobby is being pressured, but Philip, with some preemptive traps, thinks ahead of the plaque. And he does get the kill onto the soldier, as Raf will also fall. And now, through this lower area, is Voxtec going to lead this up the stairwell, and they will take plat for free, and that's also second unless QB wants to exchange.
Yeah, he definitely seems to feel the exchange going quite deep. Actually going all the way to last. There's a second cap on. This player's looking to block. There's going to be a fight with Shocky. He actually just dominates Shocky in that 1v1. He's actually going to step on last as well. Fishkoff needs to hit the rockets. He's still on the cap. Kondog is going to have to jump on it, but actually QB just diffs everyone and stands on the point and caps it out.
Yeah, QB went... I guess he didn't have the S key binded, because once he took that exchange, he just jumped from plat to bats, took the 1v1 up in upper row lobby, and then he just went straight to last, winning the fight against the soldier, and secures the Frenchies' first round of this series with less than 10 minutes to go. What a commanding way to start this BO3.
Yeah, just crazy individual play, just going on the backlines, take it out of scout. But now, next mid-fight, immediately we're seeing Dwo just kills Philip so fast. That's the downside of being faster than the enemy demo man, is that you can be the first to die. So usually the demo man traded out is not a good sign by the Germans, but they're continuing the fight. They have decent position. They have their opponent's Tetris. There's arrows coming out onto Fishkoff and KN. They're both nice and healthy. And despite losing Philip so early, the soldiers did enough with that position.
And now Veridas are looking to get their pressure in towards the second area as KN and Co. They are pressuring with the heals in Cafe, but getting stuck it off by Deli sticks. They will take them out one by one, and KN and Fishkoff are going to go in, isolate Deli, who's a bit far forward ahead of the pack, and Dwo has to answer with a bomb towards Choke. He does get Philip, and that's a demo for demo trade, but eventually will fall. So now that's a soldier and demo for demo trade, as Voxy, realizing the situation, tries to lead in, but Condog is down dangerously low, has to grab the pack, and that will be a second of delay before the combo of Verdos can recommit. They are still peeking in towards Valley, though.
Everyone's so weak on the German side. Fishkoff 12, KN 35. Condog was below 100 as well. Just everyone had eaten damage despite, taking very nice fights, despite focus firing really well, despite getting that extra frag. It's difficult to make it work. They couldn't quite get the beam or the heals or the arrows onto the players at the right time to really make the push happen and really open things up. But definitely going to be in the back of the mind, Deli. Now, anytime he steps forward and anytime he's away from that beam, he is going to be vulnerable.
Oh, definitely. And that was a great split-second reaction from the soldiers of Verdos to get that pick onto Deli earlier on. Now, Shocky and Fishkoff, there are no sticks in the flowers or in the rocks, so they won't have to worry about both dying to it. And they do keep up the pressure, but eventually they will all fall back, the six of Verdos, and they will get a beam again, heal up, and they'll have to rethink about how they want to approach this second point sack.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the Frenchies really want to twist things, really want to throw their hand in. Raf is just kind of denying there's pressure in from Cafe now. Kane launching Raf in the air, but once he actually misses an air shot, there's a slowly creeping pressure now coming in. Kane just trying to wiggle his way into some kind of space, but at the moment the door is mostly being held shut.
And there has just been no way in these past 2 minutes for the Germans to find their way in without taking a significant amount of spam from the Frenchies. The fortifications have been pretty strong so far. They just have to hold on for the next upcoming sack, which hasn't seemed to come yet. The Germans are very afraid to commit their heals, but they're just looking for a good... they've been afraid to commit a sec, but they've just been looking for a very good opening. And KN is looking to give that for them, as Fishkoff is now pressuring with Shocky, but Shocky's also going down low. As the Uber, it looked like they wanted to exchange on Plat, but then they called it off after Philip got caught out towards some spam.
Oh, and the flank is vulnerable as well. Look how low Shocky and Fishkoff are. They're not going to be able to hold the flank. And actually, Patchouli drops Condog with the crossbow.
If there's anything you can take away from this match, the Frenchies are making some individual plays that are getting them ahead in this series. First, it was QB heading into last, and then it's Patchouli with the crossbow dropping his medic counterpart in Condog, and there's no forwards to worry about because KN and Philip were denied during that entire cap. Actually, I think KN went in backspawn, and they have full Uberat to work into last here, and they're wasting no time, Dave.
Yeah, they posture it up on the top right. They know they have a lot of time to work. There's a sniper to deal with. They're just going to launch their way in. Actually, I think the headshot onto Deli is able to slow his momentum but not get any damage on. Still a heavy on that right-hand spawn door, and Patchouli takes a ton. Just walking all the way across, just waltzing across. Raf is in now deep, trying to lock players down. There's some cap time out from Juxta, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Raf is still just about there, but he's going to jump out of there. He's going to skedaddle, and it looks like the Germans will hold, and I'm seeing Condog is on the Kritzkrieg. He has 100% ready to go.
Yeah, one of the things that was working so well for 3.5 stars in that last push was that Dwo had done so much damage, about 250 towards the left spawn door, but because all of the spawns had trickled out through the right, they just weren't able to get any finalized picks there. And where Verdos, they're going to push out with this crits ad, like you said. Fishkoff through lower, KN through the bottom as the sticks are out from Philip. It catches Patchouli from long range. Home run from Philip, and this should be a decisive win unless there's a back cap, but there's the insurance policy with Shocky on the sentry gun on last, just to ensure no QB back cap.
Oh, but Condog has eaten some projectile damage. Deli is just looking for a cheeky pipe from long range. He gets a sticky onto him, goes down to 40 odd health. Condog, but he survives. He escapes. He's still on the crit. He's actually going to pick up the medigun from Patchouli. It's going to mean there's no longer an advantage, but at least he's back on the medigun, which seems to be what he wants.
If Verdos needed a way back into this game, it was definitely that long-range stick from Philip, as they do ride that momentum into mid with Fishkoff pressuring Raf off of that cafe spam. And Condog is going to fake call here because they still think, the Frenchies, that Condog is still on that crits, but like you said, he did switch to the meta gun, and because he was able to switch to it in a timely manner as Patchouli respawned, it is an even Uber scenario in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, if they're eagle-eyed, they might be able to spot it, and it might just be given away a little bit by the fact the Germans aren't doing too much. Philip is at least baiting the fact he's at choke. Should it provide some space, actually, and KN is going to jump in off the space made by just smart play by Philip, just posturing up as if he's wanted to go for that hero crit sticky, but they do just about escape it, the Frenchies, and it is basically even Ubers.
Rafa's going to try to pull off the Alamo here against the flank of Verdos, but once again he falls. It's just some really great support from Shocky to help Fish there in that cafe, despite Fish having already secured the battle win there. Now, it is going to be Verdos hovering their heels over towards Flowers here in an attempt to work their sniper on KN. Instead of Shocky, actually, KN will be running the sniper man there, and he's getting a very deep peek, but Patchouli, hiding behind this lighthouse, should be safe and sound.
Yeah, not a player I'm super familiar with playing too much sniper overall. You normally don't see it from these kind of projectile masters, but seems to have been picking it up here and there at this land, and you know, you don't necessarily need to be like an absolute sniper god. You don't need to be a main in the class. If you can just find one shot, one opportunity, and if you hit it, it can make the difference.
Make the difference indeed, but it's only if Patchouli can make one step, one mistake into those sniper sightlines of KN, but KN is getting heavily spammed off by Deli, and Philip is trying his best to support his sniper, but KN will set his sights towards Cafe with the help of Fish and Voxy. This is running down now to 3 minutes on the round timer, so it's still sufficient time to work the sniper. It's just going to be a matter of Deli. He's still far forward. Look at how separated he is from the heals. Eventually, we'll go back for those heals, and is thankful that a soldier didn't bomb onto him.
Yeah, they've a bit of uncertainty, but actually Raf is just going to go really, really close. He does get picked off, but a lot of damage has been done, and Duo is flanked in as well, forced out the Germans much, much earlier, so it's going to be a later pop by the Frenchies. But we see, actually, Duo is still alive, still looking to pincer, but Kontag escapes miracle way. Beautiful surf to get out from Cafe through the choke, through the smallest of entrances, and does a great job of keeping himself alive and his team alive in this round.
There is a little sneaky trap here on this red hut towards the choke point, but it looks like KN is trying to get his team through, and that's those sticky traps light Deli up like a Christmas tree. He will get the bow, but not until Duo does fall, and Fishcuff is on Bell Tower here. Look at the superior positioning these soldiers on Verdos have given the team to get in, but Raf and Juxta, they get on the flank and they kill Condog?
Yeah, Raf just fully was in behind. There were 3 players looking for him, but it wasn't enough as he just lands on Condog, finds the rockets. Patchouli's able to just hold S, go back to his team. He's got spawners up now, so 5 players up for them to move. There still isn't any heals up for the Germans. They have a decent amount of health between them. No one's super, super weak, but it's going to be difficult to fight with these buffed blue Frenchies coming straight in.
Patchouli does have his Uber online, as KN was looking for an opportunity to distract some eyes in for a sack potentially, but there wasn't any opening in the 3.5 stars hold on that midpoint, and they will be taking it in through the Flowers area. They just have to be susceptible to this trap, and they will just actually use through immediately. It's going to be Deli fighting the soldier that bombed in to get the force, and they will clean up KN with the help of Juxta, but that's all they're going to get. And once again, the coin has turned in the favor of Verdos as they look to maybe potentially use out of last, or if they want to burn some time off the clock and make the stakes a little closer, they could just go for the round reset, but it doesn't look like they want to do so.
Yeah, trading 1 player for the force like that is it's reasonable trade exchange overall, but yeah, it's always difficult to push out from this last point. Condog has moved his way through the left side, is once more taken quite low, and with Juxta bearing down him, and does pop out as he is it going to be weak even after this Uber has been used, so he's going to have to be cautious with his position. I think the Frenchies know it. They're already up towards 80%. No frags were found in the Uber either, so QB is on the chase here. He's bearing down onto Philip. He's nice and healthy. The soldier is now launching in to try and follow up, but while that has happened, Patchouli's built up his Uber.
Yeah, and they're going to lead it in through top right. The Frenchies will on the spearhead of QB Scout. He's going to walk across point, try to focus down this Scout that is... Actually, no, Fishcup going to be the first to fall. And in the meanwhile, there's going to be a Pyro out on Shocky as the Frenchmen re-enter in through left with both their soldiers. But this Pyro is just air blasting any jumps forward by the soldiers. There is going to be the bomb in from Duo, but it gets KN. And in a matter of seconds, 2 frags have been forced back by the Germans. But there is a lot of cap pressure right now.
Oh, the soldiers can't quite be cleaned up, and actually Juxta really close to killing Condog, but he will get taken out by Fishkoff just before it happens, and Pachuli's going to run back. They know that Condog is very, very close to Uber. Already Philip is starting to get some cap time on second, but it seems they want to continue the fight here, the Frenchies.
They might not want to overstep their boundaries, though, because Condog has made the Uber call on the medic, so that immediately signals the fallback from the Frenchies. But they should be able to get this Uber on time, but they don't know, the Germans, that Juxta is holding Tetris with the sniper, but it doesn't matter if they early use like that.
Yeah, it's going to be an Uber exchange out. Because see Philip having to leave through the choke. There's a bit of a scout escort for Condog, just about enough to get him out of there. Fishkoff going really, really high bomb. He's going to pin everyone back, but everyone's just kind of AFK, just waiting for that aggression. So Fishkoff will just about survive, get back out of there, and we'll settle down as both teams probably build this Uber up.
And surprisingly, the Germans are building a slight bit better, so a slight artificial ad for them. As in Flowers, with the help of Deli, Juxta is going to try to inch a little more forward, but little do they know, right around the corner is Philip and Voxy ready to contest Valley. As Fishkoff is going in through choke to isolate Duo on Cafe Roof, and he's actually going to try to bomb behind and manages to do so, but is getting chased by Raph.
Yeah, everyone was just bunched up in Flowers. They really didn't have anyone in choke, so it just allows Fishkoff to find some space. He's going really deep in, but Uber's just being used out from Voxy. Is going to be milked for quite actually. Pachuli doesn't even have Uber. I don't know if they'll try to play off a small advantage there, but now he does. Has to be used out onto Deli to keep him alive. He launches himself into the choke point, does knock Condog through it, but it's taken out by Voxy, and the Frenchies are starting to crumble. Oh, shot onto Pachuli. He's on the fence. He's dancing around. He doesn't have the health, though. He drops down. He somehow escapes. There's this and Philip jumping in. Surely someone can find him, and yes, eventually they descend on him, take him out. That's beautiful play by Pachuli, but not quite enough.
Pachuli almost made it out alive there, but the overwhelming forces of the Germans finally were able to get that kill onto him. And little does anyone know is that with 7 minutes left, after Condog gets this Uber, this may be one of the saving graces here for Veritas to tie it up. They just need to be able to convert these last pushes that they don't really have any chances for, or at least they haven't had many in this game so far.
Yeah, this time it's Pachuli coming up on the defensive Kritzkrieg, but it's going to be mainly about this sniper of Juxta and this engineer of QB with that level 3 sentry gun. Those are going to be the two pieces that this German Uber is going to have to bust through. They're coming through the right side. Once more, Philip is just launched up in the air. Headshot does ring out, but it's not going to find a frag. Kayan has some decent positioning up on this little walkway, but they don't really get the damage down. There's some quite weak French players, but everyone is going to escape, and actually Condog and Kayan are the only survivors for the Germans.
Man, what a tough hold, especially when the Europeans tend to favor that late heavy switch off from the off class. So 3.5 stars. They have Kritzkrieg. I don't think Veritas or Condog has this all in bout to at least make that noticeable or that aware to the Germans. So they're going to go for the long-range crits use on Deli. It's going to find Philip. First crit sticky is missed, but it will connect onto Kayan the next one, as Pachuli does get bombed by a soldier that does disconnect the crits, meaning Philip will not die to that third sticky that was fired by Deli. And it's just a exchange of frags. Players are low on both sides, but in the end of it, it looks like the Frenchies are coming out better for it as Duo is onto Condog, and that is the kill onto the medic of the Germans.
Yeah, really important clutch from Duo. Condog was very close coming up to that Uber. They're still going to deal with Voxy. Now he's off the leash. Now he's not on the beam anymore. He can just be a threat coming in from behind. He's baiting around this cafe area, but don't know if there's anywhere to escape. It's actually Shocky is running in. Both the soldiers committing as well. Not too many players left alive for the Frenchies. They're going to have to back up, and despite this crits advantage they have, they just don't have the players. They don't have the manpower to continue the fight.
What seemed like a good scenario for the Frenchies, they may have overstayed their welcome there in the mid. After killing Condog there, the response of Veritas came out of the forwards and just forced their way out into mid and into second eventually. And little does Condog know is that if Patchouli had not picked up his metagun, this is uber ad against the crits.
Yeah, I mean this is basically crunch time. I mean it's gone very fast. It has been back and forth, but it's still only 1-0 with now going into the last 5 minutes of this game. As you say, they will be aware they have the Uber. They'll probably be aware Patchouli's still in the crit. So yeah, they're just going to use in through the left-hand side, get a pretty clean entrance, but the crits is popped out from Delhi, doesn't quite find, but he finds Condog with the second. There's jumps in, but he's jumping into a heavy and a pyro, not classes a soldier wants to see in his face. I think Philip is going to get caught as well. Raf and Delhi on the chase, and it looks like the Frenchies will survive and rebound onto second.
You know, one thing I said is that Uber out against the crits is generally going to be good. At least that's what I would have assumed. But I also forget that if you can connect that crits onto the heavy and onto somebody like Delhi, they can make miracles work. A pick on a Condog, a pick onto the soldier, and they're actually picking up the Medigun, or I think Patchouli switched onto Medigun in the spawn, so they will be able to push into mid off of these delayed spawns.
Yeah, risky little push here. They don't have many advantages to work with, and actually Fishkoff survives on 2 health and is able to recycle back to the beam, back to the arrows as well. Now 2 players are down for the Frenchies. Germans are going to have second absolutely for free, and the Frenchies just making sure they have this last hold up. They probably going to have some off-classes Juxta coming up on their engineer. They just need to hold on. Just 3 minutes left of the game.
One thing that I realize here, Dave, is that there is 3 minutes left, and the onus is on Veritas to try to break this last hold, and there is no pressure from the Frenchies aside from holding this last to push out. So we're going to be sitting here on last potentially for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I see no scenario for 3.5 stars where it's a positive that they push out, even if it's basically a full wipe for the Germans. Yeah, maybe just take the second and settle for that. But yeah, at the moment, it's basically all on the Germans to break open this stalemate. They're turning once more to the KN sniper to try and work some magic hit shots, be the hero for his team. And looks like this first pick is going to come from underneath.
Yeah, this is a very tough nut to crack. When you see the sentry position, it essentially denies most of the sacks from upper lobby, from the left side of lobby and through lower. So if there's one way to break this, you could opt for the spy, sap the gun, and then send a soldier in. So it was essentially a double sack. But it looks like Veritas are just going to hard pressure left from their perspective, get some space in for the soldier spam, and then work a sack. But dang, this is a tough nut to work here. But KN is going to try his darndest to make it work.
Yeah, he's getting the beam, he's getting the buff. There is a sniper versus sniper scenario where both the snipers are actually buffed, so both will survive the smallest headshot if the 150 is to ring out. Fishkoff is trying to make space across the left. He spotted the fact there's a sentry gun. He spotted the fact that everyone's just hiding kind of underneath that little walkway area. So there's a gun protecting Patchouli. You have to go very, very deep for him to be in a sightline. So very, very difficult to get onto the medic at the moment.
KN is okay, so it's going to be the heavy out from KN. So it looks like that Veritas are going to opt for the exchange, and then through top right or through left side lobby, they're going to bring in the heavy late after the exchange. This is going to have to be one led by Voxy, and it's gotta work. They've only got 2 chances with the time.
Yeah, QB is checking on the spy class, so I think they're aware of the fact. I mean, would you even check the heavy? Maybe he's on the ball and they know that there's going to be a heavy, but yeah, Uber exchange is coming out. The sentry gun is cleaned up. It's going to be a later pop, and they're actually going to catch Voxy as well, so it's a nice little frag working in the Frenchies' favour with just a minute left on the clock. But here, heavy out for both teams as they try to move in from the left-hand side here, the Germans.
And with Delhi sticking off this door frame, that means Fishkoff has been isolated into a death position there. Duo and the other soldier, Raf, will pounce onto that opportunity. And with 35 seconds left, the gun is going to be rebuilt up to maybe a level 2 at most. This is sudden death. I don't know if the Germans have it in them to bring another round and bring us the golden cap.
Yeah, they're building slightly faster, but the clock is very, very much against them. and they still have that heavy who's going to take a while for him to get on the point. Just 18 seconds remaining. I'll let you take this last attempt away, Sire.
Yeah, in through top right. The gun goes down, but the sniper hits Kn right to the dome, and the Uber is out from Patchouli with 5 seconds left. There's nobody that's going to be able to get onto the cap as all of the frags are going towards the Frenchies with the eventual wipe. That is going to be map 1 on the Frenchies pick, which is Sunshine, as we head into the second one. Man, what a great match, despite the low scoring scoreline.
Yeah, low scoring, but I think a high quality game overall. You know, not slow, not stalemated by any means, but yeah, just you can see both the teams. You can just see how evenly matched more than anything they are. Not really too many mistakes all round. You know, couple of moments of magic. In fact, to be honest, it was settled pretty much by that just one absolute inspired play by QB. That was the difference between two very evenly matched teams.
Yeah, now that you're mentioning that, I really have come to the realization that there was no definitive last push that ended in the attacking team's favor. It was really that one exchange on second as the Germans were pushing out of last that gave them the Frenchies their first and only win of that map. As we head into the next map, which I do believe is Process. I don't think we've seen the Germans play on Process at all, but before we even talk about Process, I think we can take a look at the logs, and I wouldn't be surprised if QB put on a master performance.
I mean, it doesn't look massive based on these logs. I
Oh,
mean, none of the scouts are really hitting big numbers in terms of frags or damage. I mean, there's probably one standout player, and that would be Duo. He ends up top fragging by quite a distance. Again, not crazy damage. It wasn't a high damaging a map overall, but I definitely think I definitely noticed Duo coming up with some clutch moments in some of those fights. Certainly, one of the forces onto Condog was very, very important, and I think also a couple of the last holds as well. He was pretty important in just cleaning up frags at very, very opportune times.
and in the medic head to head, I'm surprised to see that Condog actually has 3 more deaths than Pachuli's 3 because it felt like every time we were watching Condog, aside from that one time where Pachuli, he was just dancing on a prayer on that second fence. It seemed as if Condog was also getting out of scenarios that maybe he shouldn't have come out alive in, but Pachuli
Yeah,
putting on a good performance.
I think both medics were exceptional. You could see they're both at the top of the game mechanically, especially. But Condom does play a little bit more risky. He's willing to go a little bit deeper with Voxy. It does mean at times he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable to dying more than perhaps some of the baitier medics. But Patchouli, pretty much matching his performance, matching his survivability, but with just a slightly less risks taken, and that's why probably his stat line is better, even if his performance wasn't significantly stronger.
Yeah, I mean, this map has set the tone for the rest of the series, and if any series was deserving of a BO3 of going to all 3 maps for this LAN, I would probably say this matchup has given us that opportunity because you and I did cast their granary match in the group stage. So now between 2 maps is currently a 2-1 scoreline in favor of the Frenchies. Like between 2 maps, so that's 60 minutes of TF2 played. You wouldn't expect a 2-1 scoreline, but I mean, given the playstyle of these teams, it seems that while they can take risks, it's a matter of converting, and both of these teams have not managed to have many successful opportunities in that department.
Yeah, I think it was a feature of that granary game yesterday, as well as this first Sunshine game, that the teams, they know what they're doing. They have their textbook holds. They have very good defensive play. They're not quite as sharp when it comes to pushes, when it comes to clearly converting advantages. So maybe now we move on to this second map of Process. Again, I probably wouldn't expect it to be super, super high scoring, but it's probably going to be close.
I believe. Okay, yeah. I was just reminding myself. This is the Germans' map pick. Did you have the chance to see the Germans play this at least? Not if it wasn't on LAN, this LAN. Have you seen them play it in Premiership at all? Because I have no intel on these guys despite doing a last hour prep for the LAN?
I don't have a particularly solid memory of this team on this map, I'm afraid. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, Process is probably one of the more scout-centric maps, I'd say. One of the ones where it's going to come down to raw scout power, and maybe based on that, possibly give the edge to the Germans. There's certainly a strong argument that those two scouts of Voxy and Shocky are the two best players on the team. So if there's kind of really anything to glean from just a vague kind of meta on Process, then maybe it favors the Germans. But at this stage, everyone kind of knows how to play Process. I don't think there's going to be a vast difference in the two sides on this map.
If there is a saving grace for the Germans, I mean, I have not seen a decrease or a drop in performance from Voxy. But I did notice, though, we didn't really see too much. I mean, in terms of like individual plays, like there wasn't anything that stood outwards from Philip. But I think Philip had played a pretty consistent game, never saw himself getting caught out. It was just a matter of the pace of the game that, may have not may have shown him to have slightly worse stats than Delhi in the logs. But for me, his consistent performance is something to look forward to into process as we head into the second map. And because of that, I'm going to be keeping my eye on him as the X factor for Verdos heading into this next game. Whereas with 3.5 stars, that demo v demo matchup kind of rings true to this match. As I think Delhi had a few trap kills that turned the tide of a few pressure scenarios from Verdos into 3.5 stars favor. So I'll be looking at the demo v demo matchup as kind of like the X factor of this second map in terms of the matchup.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting place to look, particularly on these mid fights. We've seen basically all of today and yesterday how fast Philip has been, but probably on this map more than any, that can be a vulnerability. As fast as you want to go as a demo man, if there's a soldier on the enemy team that can match you in pace, you can get isolated, you can get killed very, very early. And that kind of happened one time on the Sunshine where Duo just immediately killed Philip. The Germans kind of bounced back despite that happening, but I think on this map it's a lot harder. Like if your demo's going down before you've even got to the mid fight, it's very, very difficult to make it work on this map. So maybe Philip will have to be just a little bit more cautious. Maybe we're going to see some right side rollouts, maybe even some sewer rollouts. But yeah, he's probably aware of whether Duo is going to be able to get on his case or not early on.
Yeah, I think the only time he was caught was at least I'm thinking it was the second mid fight on Sunshine where Dwo did the fast rollout, but somehow, some way, the Germans still won that mid despite Philip being the opening pick. So, if anything, Dwo's unpredictability, as a soldier of when he wants to go for those commits and when he can find himself in opportune times to go for those flank plays like he did onto that cafe shove into Condog's face, I think in one of the scenarios during a mid into second pressure from Verdos on Sunshine. Dwo is also definitely a player to watch, like you mentioned.
I think if there's one player I really want to step up, it would probably be Shocky on this second map. I don't really think he made the best account of himself on that Sunshine map. Not always easy to get in behind on Sunshine, not always easy to make those flank plays happen, but QB did it once and it was enough to settle the map, and Shocky is more than capable of having that same kind of impact, but we haven't seen it on that first map, so maybe this is his time to step up.
When you talk about Shocky, though, how would you define his playstyle? Because to me, it doesn't seem like he's somebody that, I guess, unlike Juxta or QB, is somebody that's willing to play aggressive and go for those opportune flanks, whether could be considered a feed, yet still make it work.
I mean, traditionally, he has pretty much, particularly in this, whenever he's played in this German side, he's been more or less an out and out flank scout. He is looking for opportunities, looking for backups, looking to move in from the flank. See a lot of the other scout duos in Prem play a little bit closer together, a little bit more in sync and in tandem. But Shocky is, he likes to operate often with a soldier on the flank as well, but also often just alone solo plays. He's consistently made that happen in the last few seasons as a Prem, just kind of trusting his DM, going in, fracking players out and making openings, and it's so such a powerful tool to have, particularly when you have an even matchup like this between two teams where there's very little to open stuff up. If you just have that scout that can win that 1v1 on the flank and turn the tide of the game, it can be very, very powerful.
Yeah, speaking of 1v1s, I would say also for the German side that KN has not been able to get those opportunities to get those scenarios or those kind of positioning where he can take a 1v1 against a flank player or an isolated player of the Frenchies on his own. So if this is the map that could open it up for him, considering that the Germans were willing to pick it for this map pick ban system, KN may have a playground up towards him. It's just a matter of if he can step it up, because obviously he was playing against the Alien Workshop squad, who are, in terms of skill to skill level, are inferior to this Premiership squad or the Frenchies. But we saw that he was very confident to take fights that maybe you wouldn't go for if you were playing winning TF2, but he was just able to DM his way out of it. And having seen him in that match, I would like to see him regain that confidence heading into process.
Yeah, maybe it could work a little bit more in the Germans' favour if it was just a little bit more open and came down to those rockets that KN hit. If it is kind of slow and steady and just players trying to jump in, going for forces here and there, I don't think that really is kind of optimizing, particularly KN, but the play style of the team as a whole. So possibly just throwing a little bit of chaos into the works could work in their favor, but we'll have to see how it plays out. They don't want to take too many risks and make it into Condog's favorite clown fiesta.
Yeah, and also before we do get started, because I think that the players were given the signal not too long ago, I do want to go over some predictions. I do want to see a map 3, and given it how low of a scoreline this is, I'm gonna go back and rerun that Sunshine scoreline. I'm gonna go 3-1 Verdos.
I'm gonna pretty much be on the same page. I'm gonna go 2-1 Verdes. Let's just do if we haven't seen either of these teams being super confident in terms of converting uber advantages into rounds, so I don't think we're going to get a super high score. I think it's very unlikely we go to the win limit here, but the good surprises could be a different map and a different story. But so far it's been high level stuff, but not explosive.
Yeah, I guess the key thing to look for is these mid fights, because no team has definitively won a mid fight now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, the only thing that could go against that is we only had such a small sample size because we didn't have too many round resets on Sunshine. It was more of teams leapfrogging back and forth between the points. So we only had two or three? No, just two mid fights on that Sunshine match. So just going to be interesting to see how these mid fights go. I'm expecting that based on this map pick from the Germans, we might see a few more committals, maybe some double bombs from Kane and Fishkoff. I'm just don't have too much background on how Verdos approaches process, but that's the only thing that I can assume in comparison to Sunshine.
We'll have to see as we do move into this second map. It's going to be Verdes Liest in the red. It's going to be 3.5 stars who are mapped to the good. In the blue for France, as it's going to be Delhi is actually just as fast as Philip into this mid-fight, but there's two soldiers bearing down on him immediately. He does actually hit a nice pipe onto Fishkoff to take him out, but Raf pays with his life, and now it's going to be one soldier down a piece as they circle around this mid-fight.
Yeah, like I said, Verdos were not afraid to go for those double soldier bombs, but it seems to not have paid off for them, as it has ended in a 3v3. But with QB low, Verdos have the ability to buff up KN, but it's against two scouts, so KN has to be very careful about who he chooses to jump and when he chooses to jump. It seems like they've chosen to isolate QB, but because Juxta was in the middle of that high ground, he blindsides Voxy from the right and kills him, as KN, delaying to get Condog out, will have to give his life for it, but in the end, Condog is able to get out, and that's the only thing that Verdos wanted from that mid.
That was painful stuff for KN. Just two scouts on the high ground, just peppering him down every time he just tried to hit the spacebar and had nowhere to move from. They're trying to move in through choke here. QB has found some space. He's going to take Shocky down very, very low, definitely getting the better of those meat shots. Dwo throws himself into the equation, but Voxy is there to rebuff him just about for now, and it looks like the Frenchies will lick their wounds, keep themselves alive, and they made a bit of a go of it, but nothing quite doing there.
Yeah, as we do find ourselves in a bit of lull in the battlefield right now, as Deli is just shooting some stickies onto his defense, not actually getting shot off by anyone just yet. He does dead them. In the meanwhile, the Frenchies are pressuring that PC area. Juxta has found himself in a position right below Fishkoff. Unaware of it is Fishkoff, but he will kill Rap, and he might kill Juxta. Juxta is down to 3 HP, and a pepper shot from Choke. A great call in terms of the focus fire does kill Juxta.
Yeah, now 2 frags is going to allow them to bust through this choke. Voxy's just standing on top of the rock. Duo is going to have to get forced back as well. They still haven't popped Uber. It's good milking by Condog, getting himself in. There's going to be a Uber taken aggressively out by the Frenchies. Patchouli and QB go in quite deep, but the Germans pop a lot later and able to save all their players. They have control of the high ground. Patchouli's getting caught out. Is going to just get peppered down by the pistol, and they took way too long to leave there, the Frenchies.
Oh man, QB had went so far with that Uber, but there doesn't seem to be a plan B for the end of that exchange, and they do pay the price for it, the Frenchies. Verdos pretty much have a free second to take unless they don't clear these stickies under the stairwell that were placed by Deli, and it does seem that Voxy did clear them. So with Condog on 60%, there is some time for the gun to go up, and the heavy is also up on QB.
Yeah, no soldiers risking the second, just keeping 6 men alive on that last point. They have a sentry gun. It is spotted out by this red German side, so they are aware that the sentry gun is going to be at the right spot. I don't know if they know about that heavy up in the panic room area, but Uber comes in from the right side here.
Yeah, and they're taking it deep into right spawn, but they don't clear the 6 on point as Duo is just cycling these stickies, but Deli is, but it doesn't seem like they're going to end out in the end in favor of the Germans because they do lose 4, and Jockey hiding under the point. He is going to try to go for a little sneaky play, but isn't able to do so against 2 scouts, a demo, and a medic.
Yeah, laser beam, heavy coming in, Patchouli coming up on the crits, as both of these medics have seemed to favored on these defensive scenarios when they're coming in with the full disadvantage. Now it's going to be KN throwing himself in, but just throwing himself back into the respawn queue mostly. Deli has been picked off, but Condog has massively overcommitted to this choke point. Ruff is on his head and able to find that rocket. It's now forced Voxy to go deep onto Patchouli. Patchouli's quite low, but it's just going to run all the way back to lobby. It's this is what we talked about in terms of potentially a scrappy fight emerging and a scrappier kind of TF2 gameplay emerging, but Patchouli is just going to play passive, just going to keep himself alive, just going to keep his Uber advantage in hand, and shaken out decently, but for 3.5 stars.
And for those thinking that we have missed 30 minutes of the action, don't worry, the timer is just broken on the stream. We are only 5 minutes into the match, and the Frenchies are going to be pushing into mid with full Uber. We have a soldier fading onto the roof above sewer door as Raph actually is that soldier, and he does get caught out and isolated alongside his partner in Juxta. They are going to use, but they are down 2 players, the Frenchies, with a scout in the backlines. Shocky is that man, actually. As a matter of fact, Dave, you said he likes to go for those flanks. Well, he's going to try it again, and he's brought 4 back into second and allowed the Germans to get in through PC, to get in through choke, and they're going to isolate Deli, and they should be able to get this kill on the guy in upper lobby. No, QB will finally get a kill for the Frenchies.
That was a huge scout class moment for QB as he just walks straight point blank at a soldier and is able to win the 1v1 with 2 meat shots. That was a crucial moment because certainly the Frenchies were on the back foot there. They used the Uber and lose 2 players. Does mean Condog still has this Uber advantage, but no Fishkoff to take it in. They're going to go in from the right side. It's on to Philip and Voxy. They get rid of the sentry gun immediately. There's still stickies on point. No soldier Fishkoff to scatter them, so they're just going to lay a carpet down. Now a bomb coming in from Fishkoff late, but they just kind of sneak it out. Voxy just standing on the very edge of the point. You could see that Deli didn't want to det those sticks, and they cap it out and take the first round here, the Germans.
All right. Well, Dave, our predictions are kind of in danger right now, unless... Well, actually, no. We both predicted the Germans, so you predicted 2-1, I predicted 3-1, so we're off to a good start, but with how fast that first round came in comparison to Sunshine. This time being a decisive last push with full Uberad. It looks like Verdos have seemingly cracked the code here for this process pick, as Deli gets immediately rolled out upon by Fishkoff, meaning the demo will be the first to fall in this mid. Shocky is going to fall in tandem with his soldier duo, and Voxy is getting isolated by the Duo and QB bomb, as Raf has already pushed out these Germans from the mid. It seemed as if their full committal for Deli on both of these roles have not paid off for the Germans, and that has led to 2 mid losses.
Yeah, losing Shocky there basically just meant it was curtains for the mid. You know, even if you have that demo pick, if this scout just says free reign to go over the top, it doesn't really matter. We're seeing Kane trying to lock down this choke point, but the Frenchies are going to continue to press the accelerator. Both soldiers now, Raf and Dwo, are just landing on top of Corndog, but he survives with 30 health. He backs up to rollout and he keeps his Uber in hand. That's a beautiful milk.
A beautiful milk indeed, and that has given the opportunity for his team to push into this midpoint. They've already taken the grass side to outside of their sewer door, as Fishkoff and Can are double teaming from above. But what they don't know is the Uber is going to come out, and they didn't know that they were going to lose Shocky yet again. Shocky has been dying in a lot of these fights so far in the second round, as Voxy is going to try to lead in this Uber, but he went a step too far, and he's going to pay the price for it, as QB will kill him. Raf and Dwo are going to bomb towards Choke, and they pressure out the combo, and it's just going to be a cat and mouse chase here, as it looks like the Germans are hightailing their way out a second, but it looks like they won't be able to get out, as Philip and Fish are going to die, but at least Condog stays alive.
Yeah, that's kind of the only saving grace, but this is great transition momentum by the Frenchies. They're already peeking into last. You already see Deli peeking in through left. Dwo is locking down that left spawn door. There's a heavy up on the right-hand side. Now Dwo is jumping into him. Both soldiers going into towards the right spawn, but the Frenchies just wipe. I don't exactly know what happened there, but it definitely didn't work out well for France.
It seemed as if they wanted to get a head start onto last before any fortifications could have been set up, but because that heavy came out, and because they set a bit too far to try to kill Condog, or at least get a force off, they weren't able to do so, as QB is now on the sniper, peeking towards the right place though. He's going to be peeking, he's going to be waiting for the cap to go through, and off of that ping and off of the sound cues from his teammates spotting in Choke, he's going to try to peek out and drop Condog.
Yeah, they're going in from that Al-Qaeda area. There's some stickies they have to deal with. There's still that, don't know if they've seen that sniper up, but now there's a soldier that's fake bombing as well. Just so many pitfalls that they need to avoid, but at the moment they've dealt with basically all of them and they're already moving. There's no cap time on second. That is the one thing that has just slowed them down a little bit, but they still want to go in for last, I think.
They still want to go in, but Pachulia is not building very fast, so they will have a 25 Ubered as they use him through 3 door. They will get the gun immediately, and they're going to isolate the soldier in rollout. Voxy and Shocky will, but the soldier is holding his own, and he kills Shocky! Voxy is onto Pachulia, and Pachulia, he dropped off of heaven! He made a big mistake in terms of positioning, and he will pay the price for it, as the Frenchies, they will not be able to hold this last. It's just up to Juxta and QB, but KN will put the final blow on that push and secure the second round for his squad.
Yeah, it's just a split-second thing from Patchouli. I think he has to drop down once that soldier is in his face, but I think the only way he was realistically going to escape was if he was able to get down to that right spawn door below. He went trying to go across the point, but it was very easy for him to be gunned down. But pretty nice push overall, I have to say, from the Germans. Just getting that good entrance, getting those soldiers both in deep on the other side and completely encircling the opposition.
Fishkoff is not going to go for the fast rollout onto Deli this time. They've paid the price for it twice, and they won't make the same mistake a third time, as Fishkoff actually misses his high bound off of the silo, and that means he's going to be chased behind into sewer by Duo and Juxta. He will go down to them. Actually, no, Fish will defend himself. He gets Duo, and he manages to stay alive long enough to bring the Frenchies out of mid, actually. Because he stayed alive for so long, that was so crucial, as Kan is keeping up the chase, but Chuli is low, and he catches a bow from Condog. Condog getting revenge for what happened on Sunshine will even up the Medic v Medic head-to-head.
Oh, great stuff. I thought Fishkoff was done for. He was just getting chased down by a ravenous scout, but gets himself into the sewer, takes out Duo, who is looking for that health back himself, and now Uber is ready to go through one. They spot out Raf. He does force out pretty early. There's a sentry gun taken out immediately, level 1. There's a heavy that they're going to have to walk down and take him out eventually, but Shocky does trade his life away for it, but Captain is going in. I don't know, it's not quite in time for the soldier Raf to block, and it's going to be the Germans going 3-0 up.
An emphatic way to start off their map pick, as in less than 12 minutes they've gotten 3 rounds, and that's throwing your prediction out the window, but mine still has a chance. But it's looking very grim right now as the Frenchies, outside of the mid fights, it seemed that Veritas have made some adjustments in order to get themselves that third mid fight win, and obviously in no part thanks to, or in due part thanks to Condog's arrow onto Patchouli.
Yeah, this time Delhi fails doing that Cadus rollout, takes a ton of damage, has to go through the sewer, take the health pack there. Kane's jumping on top of the point, getting some space, but it's Fishkoff going in quite deep onto that little awning area. Everyone's kind of bunched up in the corner now. Patchouli is just trying to separate himself away from Raf, but I think there's an extra player here on the French side. They're going to take out Philip as well, so Condog and Voxy are going to run back while Shocky just tries to buy some time.
Shocky will buy some time, but Raf is hot on the tail of Condog. But Condog being in that spawn door means there's basically no chance that Condog should fall to Raf here, or force at that. And it seems as if the Frenchies' game plan on the mid is to let KN and Fishkoff start the initiation. But oh no! QB gets caught on that 4-door by Philip, and there's a soldier fighting in lobby right now, but Delhi will defend himself against it.
Yeah, important pipe from Delhi to take out Fishkoff. KN is down as well. Raf is going in for some kind of sack or something. Condog went pretty damn low, but is back in spawn, so he's just going to be able to quickly resub and take the beam back onto this heavy weapons guy in front of him, as the Frenchies are going to look to try and open things up. They're just bleeding players here, the Germans. Voxy going down, their engineer, so surely a push is on now.
Oh, the push is definitely on indeed, as the floodgates have opened towards the 4-door, and Delhi is doing so much damage, forces out 2 players towards the respawn wave as the Uber goes out for both sides, and in this chaos on the point, Delhi is going to re-enter through 3 as Soldier is in heaven, and they will isolate Fishkoff, the scout and the Soldier, and Delhi and QB, they combine onto Voxy. It's just up to Shocky, it's just up to Condog, and with Philip on the respawn, he's in no way able to stick the point, and finally, the Frenchies, they find some footing on this map pick of the Germans.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of mistakes there from the Germans, but not least, I think KN was going for, I think it was KN, went for an air shot onto a demo man when there was like 3 players behind him. So, you know, he's hit a lot today, but certainly that wasn't the occasion for it. They pay the price, they go a round down, and now 3.5 stars will be hoping to pull the comeback here.
Well, if they want to close this out 2-0, they better act quick, because right now, with 16 minutes left, with how Sunshine went, there's not a lot of time. But given that, they see the urge to bomb forward onto Condog, as a matter of fact, and Dwo will get that pick. Patchouli is getting pressured hard in choke, and they've essentially chose to leave mid in essence, as they need to turtle around Patchouli. But Shocky, he goes for that little sneaky play through PC in towards lower PC, and then lands onto Patchouli and gets that pick. A huge pick by Shocky to salvage the mid after losing Condog.
Yeah, I think that if they just had their wits about them a little bit, the Frenchies, they would have really bunkered up in sewer, but Patchouli was just kind of caught in the choke point, wasn't fully aware of that IT flank, that it was open to Shocky. I don't think anyone spotted him entering there, so he was just able to run in. 2 quick shots on to Patchouli, take him out. They're going to take the mid cap at least, the Frenchies, but Condog has a small Uber advantage to work with, but I don't know. I'm probably not feeling that they're going to be, you know, risking it only like 20% out there.
Almost definitely, but they send both soldiers onto Condog. But Condog, despite being landed on top of by Raf and Dwo, still has the guts to not force. Well, he didn't even have Uber on him, online actually, as a matter of fact. And because of that, the Germans will leapfrog their way back into mid. Thankfully, Philip does not land on the rock where a sticky trap by Delhi was awaiting. And it looks like the Germans, I haven't really been seeing any mistakes from them on this process map, aside from that 1 round they lost.
Yeah, it's been pretty solid. I mean, the best milk for Condog there is when you don't even have the Uber, so you don't even have that choice there. But actually, Soldier is deep onto Patchouli, but very nice dukes from him. Is just able to avoid nearly all the damage incoming from KN, not able to hit a decisive rocket down. I think Dwo must have gone in for a counter-sack while that was happening, but at the end of the day, it's really up to the Frenchies. Not in a position they want to be there on their own second, not ideal scenario to sack from. I mean, you've got, I guess, the rollout where you can just do a big launch from, but Yeah, definitely they're going to need to open things up. There's still a decent amount of time left, but with a 2-round deficit, it's not a great scenario.
Oh, most definitely. And as Dwo, like you said, he did second through that choke, but just got stalwarted in the sky by Voxy and Shocky. And wow, I'm seeing KN. I thought Shocky was going to go for those sniper plays, but it seems that they've chosen to entrust the sniper class to KN, and he's going to try to work his magic, probably actually just peeking on top of the mid crates, and he's just going to peer his way through that choke point. But it doesn't seem like QB and Deli are enticed with the fact that they want to peek through choke here, as Fishkoff is going to land onto Patchouli. It's a very clean bomb, and it gets the force.
Yeah, just Patchouli caught underneath the kind of IT entrance, and very, very nice high bomb by Fishkoff. But now, Voxy taken very, very low, but does get popped out on just in the nick of time. Everyone's quite low on the Germans. I don't know if Condog can flash everyone, but it seems he just about can. Everyone's getting cleaned up. Dwo's going down, Juxta's going down. There's 4 players alive by the Frenchies. They're backing up. They have a bit of Uber advantage to work with, but 6 against 4, you'd think the Germans want to continue to press the issue, but KN has just stepped a little bit too far forward there.
Oh no, Fishkoff is on the flank, snuck in behind through upper IT, and he's going to land onto Deli and to QB, and he's going to prop Patchouli up in towards roll up and will not give him a chance to escape. And I see the Archimedes flying out into the sky as Veritas, the Germans. That was a very decisive flank from Fishkoff, and one of the few mistakes that 3.5 stars may have made by choosing to stay in there.
Yeah, I think they thought the frag onto Kane was enough, but no, the Germans are rampant. Vox is already on the point. The second cap comes in, the final cap comes in, and Germans now going 4-1 up. There's still 12 minutes left, but is anyone going to stop this German train?
Yeah, I mean, is there any adjustments that you kind of need to see from the Frenchies in order to maybe even bring this back, despite the low time left in the match?
It's difficult. I mean, they're not making too many mistakes, but every time they are, they're getting punished. But Deli is much faster this time. Is going to get onto the back very, very quickly. Hits a nice rollout. Duo is dueling with Fishkoff, who's just hiding, waiting for an arrow now. Raf is going to be the one to jump in, land on top of Condog. Duo's in perfect sync. Beautiful surf for Condog, but dies regardless. Patchouli's gone down to a pistol in the meantime. It's Pandemonium. Deli is taken out by Voxy, who's just patrolling the high ground. Shocky's just about alive as well. It's 2 scouts for the Frenchies, who are a little bit more healthy, but perhaps positioning better for the Germans, perhaps sync up better for the Germans. Juxta is just about alive, but I think the team play overall in that fight was very, very superior for the German side.
Yeah, Juxta getting shot straight towards Red Crate had essentially separated him from his scout partner. And that means Veritas, with 10 minutes and 50 just about, by winning this mid, they have further secured their chances of making it product now as map 3 looms in the Frenchies' eyes, because for them, their hopes of map 2 going their way or even tying it up into a golden cap look very slim, as KN is going to go through that fast rollout onto Patchouli, popping him into the sky, trying to hit the air shot, but just isn't able to do so. Patchouli will manage to live, and if there is a queue for 3.5 stars to go off a small marginal ad in terms of numbers, this is the play.
Yeah, they're trying to make it work, but she is quite low still. There's only that little mini pack that he was able to eat, and so they can't play it too risky. They've thrown Duo in. He's gone down for his troubles, but looks like the Germans are looking to put their foot back in the accelerator. They want to take this to win limit. They don't want to slow down at all, despite their significant lead here.
Despite that significant lead indeed, as KN, they're just going to try to burn more time off of the clock here, the Germans. They're going to slowly bleed out the Frenchies here on this map, as KN has now opted for the sniper, which means that the Germans will take their sweet little time juicing down that clock as Raf is peeking into sewers, but it's just only hiding for an opportune play into an unsuspecting player of the Germans, but nobody is going to head that way, as it almost feels as if the Frenchies were never in the map to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is possibly a smart play from Ruff. I don't think he's been spotted yet. No one's peeking Sewer at the moment to see how much patience he has. I mean, they have to kind of get their socks on and get going. There's not too much time to work with, but yeah, just both soldiers at the moment patrolling the sewer area as Kane is going to try and work an angle with a sniper.
Well, definitely will try, but of course, QB knows the desperation that the Frenchies are in and going to call for the exchange, but a sticky trap from Philip will kill Duo before Fish bombing into Choke will get killed. Now KN does get dropped in the exchange in favor of keeping the Uber on Condog, as Voxy did call to go forward here. They will Uber in as QB has snuck behind, and so will Raph. They're going to isolate Shocky on mid with the help of Juxta, and they will manage to get that. But what else can they find aside from Deli dying in towards I believe that was second by Voxy. QB is going to fight Sewer alone, but Juxta and Raph have arrived in to sandwich onto Voxy, Condog, and KN, and Condog will go down, but it's just a scrappy fight. No definitive winner just yet up until that kill onto, I believe that was Voxy and the Frenchies. As long as QB can protect against these two soldiers, which he manages to do so against one, but maybe not against the next. With the help of Deli, they should be able to force KN out of this fight, and they should be able to keep Patchouli alive.
Superb play by QB and Patchouli. You know, healthy soldiers coming in against a weak medic and a scout with the beam on him, and they just beautifully dealt with it, beautifully duked away from that incoming aggression, and really put themselves back in this game now. They have an Uber advantage. They've spotted out this high bomb from KN, not going to find anything. Probably will escape, but I think that is basically their one opportunity there. Condog is close to Uber, but looks like the Frenchies do have a window to move with his advantage.
Oh, and they're going to isolate Fishkoff towards that 5 door, which means that not only do they have Uber advantage as Condog is at 90%, they will be able to take significant ground on this last point, and they will be able to get off so much time. And not even before Condog gets Uber do they cap the point. So 3.5 stars. That's the start of a comeback potentially here, and there is grounds for it. Look at the time, 7 minutes left. Definitely doable to get 2 rounds, maybe even a third if you can keep the momentum up just like that.
Yeah, just great stuff, great moves, smooth gameplay throughout. Just all came off the back of Patchouli and QB surviving that onslaught, and then they just turned through the gears, went right up to 5th gear, and we're into last before 2nd was even getting capped on as we move into this next mid-fight. It's Frenchies back with some momentum.
And they got some momentum indeed as Philip goes on dangerously low, so Fishkoff will have to bomb forward to try to give his team the opportunity to heal up. But as a matter of fact, the Frenchies are aware of the HP disposition here, as they will isolate the rest of the fragging classes, and Condog will have to kill Bind, seeing as there is no way out. If there is a silver lining here towards the mid, it is that Patchouli did die in all that chaos.
Yeah, I think they're starting to believe here, the Frenchies. They seem to have got a grip of this game. They've, you know, lose their medic super early, that mid-fight, but just every combat class just goes forward, and everyone was trying to scurry back for the Germans. There was no escape, nowhere for them to leave away from that French aggression, and Patchouli has decided to come up on Medigun once more, so not going for any kind of crit shenanigans. They're just going to play it steady, play it standard. There's a heavy up for the defense, but we'll see exactly how the Frenchies try and break this open.
We'll see how they try to break it open indeed, as Juxta is positioned towards 1. They are going to try to pressure off Fishkoff towards 5, and they will pistol down the gun from 1. That is Juxta, as Raph will go in alongside QB, I believe, through 5, and they will isolate Fishkoff, but Dwo will have to give his life for it. The medic Conduct is on low ground, and because of that, he wasn't able to go back up the ramp, and he will just force a spam, but a bit of a questionable use, Dave, as Conduct was nowhere near in a position to get forced by a soldier bomb, and QB is going to lead it in.
Well, big rotation through 1. They still haven't popped. They go all the way across the point. I think Shocky's going to get isolated and caught out. Can't even leave through spawn, but there's still a level 1 gun up. No one's really followed up with the rest of this French attack. They're taking their time. They're now recycling, but everyone's taking damage. Eventually, the gun does go down to long range spam. Dwo is in, jumping up onto Condog. I think they've got enough frags here, and yeah, the Frenchies are roaring back. They're bringing it back to 3-4. The comeback is very, very much on.
It's feeling like CS Levy right now, as wow, what a great coordinated double bomb by Dwo and Raft, as they just basically get the remaining 3 kills onto that last push and basically put the exclamation mark onto that round, as 3.5 stars in less than 5 minutes have chained together 2 rounds. And right now, Verdos, this is very dangerous for them, especially when given the lead that they had early on in this game in the first half. They are staring down the barrel of elimination if they do not get back into the shape.
German soldiers much faster, but KN gets absolutely annihilated with an air shot and followed up by that scattergun from QB, and now the Frenchies They smell blood. They're feeling themselves. They're wanting to go forward. They're just taking a little bit of a slowdown. They have the one pick. They're going to cap up this mid-fight. We'll see how they approach, but surely they want to continue this pressure forward.
They will try to do it through IT with Dwo and Juxta peeking in as Raph does the fade to get those flank players in. They get onto Condog, and Condog drops. Well, he didn't have Uber yet, but he still goes down, and this is an utter collapse from the Germans as it's looking like a third round. Sure, Deli does go down, and it's a 20-second respawn timer, but I don't think that will delay everybody from Veritas getting wiped. It's just Fishkoff here in lobby alone, and if he dies and Voxy and Shocky don't respawn on time, they're just going to play the point, and it's going to be 4-4.
Jux has already shimmied on to last. There's not even a spawner up for the Germans as he's able to step on top of it, and they've brought it back from what looked like the doldrums to, as you say, 4-4, and it's very, very much game on with 3 minutes to play.
Man, we were thinking, oh man, 3.5 stars didn't have a chance to get back into this game, but they've proved us wrong with the caster's curse yet again. They have found their way back into this, and suddenly we are facing either sudden death on Golden Cap, or we are facing a third map or an elimination. Just depends on the outcome of this round. Dave, take it away.
Yeah, this mid-fight's so important. All the momentum in the Frenchies' favour. The Germans just kind of bodying up a little bit slower, but now the forward momentum is going in. Now the aggression is going in. Condor goes down to Deli, though. He's caught out. They're having to go deep, but look how passive Patchouli is. Just everyone bunching up. There's just a wall of blue French players playing around that sewer area. Raf is going to get sold out, but I don't know if the Germans have the health here. They're probably just going to have to settle for a mid-cap.
And they won't be able to push back in until QB and Raf do respawn because of that very, very long respawn timer. QB and Raf won't be up for another 10 seconds or so. QB will be up now, but still, they should be able to push in, and 2 minutes is definitely enough to get their way from their second all the way to the last. It's just a matter of if Condog can build well, just as he has been all tournament, and be able to get this Uber to either hold second or to either hold last. And Shocky and Fishkoff, they are primed in a position to go for a backup through sewer, as Fishkoff will fight in sewer as Deli bombs in through choke. Shocky is there to help Fishkoff. They will pressure off the soldier towards sewer, and they are primed for a second backup, but it's going to be a 2v2 flank fight in the sewer area as Juxta, Dwo, and Deli and Patchouli are trying to get their way into mid, but because they've been isolated away from their flank players, they're just going to have to focus down the flank players of Shocky and Fishkoff. They managed to do so, and in doing so, Shocky and Fishkoff give their lives in order for Condog to get Uber.
Yeah, that flank threat has been eliminated now, but there is a 6v4 push potential by the Frenchies, and I think they taste the blood in the water. They're moving in through choke. There's a flank coming in from Dwo as well. He sees a soldier that's not going to get Ubered in the exchange KN, but is actually going to go down. Nice airshot arrow from Gondog. It's going to take Dwo out, and despite the Uber coming out much later from the Frenchies, they haven't found too much purchase with it. They're trying to still muscle in through the chokeboard, but they're playing on the low ground. They take out Condog just Wing forward. How do you get onto Philip as well? No, Philip survives somehow, but look how low everyone the Germans are. They're going to go back to last with 30 seconds left to play.
Oh man, 30 seconds is definitely enough for Patchouli to get this Uber. And the Germans, oh no, this would be such a massive choke if they are not able to bring this to Golden Cap. This should have been a win 15 minutes ago, but now we are staring down the barrel of elimination if you are the Germans, as Patchouli has a significant Uber at. Condog will not have this Uber for the last push, but they have to go in because there's not enough time to get this Uber. They're going to hope that the Frenchies, they can get this Uber in during this last push, as one is in through one door. That is Dwo. He is going to go home. They just get the cap! They distracted so well, Dwo, and they just play the point. The Frenchies will take the comeback into the Germans, and they will move on in the lower bracket off against, I believe, Mandam. And wow, what a stunning way to end this map and the series overall.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Just everyone settling back, trying to play defensive from the German side, but they just stood on the cup. There was 2 seconds to work with. There was basically no advantages in their favor other than the fact they were closer to the cap point, standing on it. I think probably Deli, I think it was Deli hit a shot as well onto that incoming soldier that was very, very important. Made sure that block couldn't come in, and yeah, the Frenchies from, looked like they were down and out of this map with a big stirring comeback, and that is definitely the best action I've seen so far in this LAN.
Woo! Woo! What a way to end this series. I did not believe the Frenchies would be able to get that on time. They didn't even need the Uber. They just needed the distraction from Duo in that one door or set or rollout door. And oh my gosh, what a heroic play. And maybe just a huge mental choke from the Germans as they may have been focused on not losing instead of winning. And they definitely paid the price for that, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It can go against you when you feel you're in a position where you should be winning, where you think they were one round away from the win limit within the first 15 minutes. They nearly sewed up the map straight away. But yeah, once those doubts start creeping in, once the tilt starts creeping into the mumble, it can be very difficult to you turn it back against them. But I don't want to speculate too much in terms of like throwing or tilt or anything like that. I just want to say well played. 3.5 stars for a great comeback.
I don't have the logs up yet, but I would assume, wow, that was definitely an even effort by everybody on 3.5 stars, including Patchouli too. Nothing would have this comeback wouldn't have started without his heroics on that mid a while back onto Condog. I keep saying it time and time again, but just one small play that can turn the momentum in your favor, and it could have a cascading domino effect as little by little, the dominoes fall, and 3.5 stars definitely took opportunity of that mental weakness that the Germans had in trying to secure that lead. And I think that means the Germans are out in fifth to sixth place because it's going to be Mandem versus the Frenchies in lower bracket round 4. And then the winner of that will face TLR. And then the winner of that will face Witness in the grand final. So maybe I don't know if I expected this loss though from the Germans, not in the way that it happened too.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. I do have the logs up. I don't know if our producer can bring it up, but it's fair to say there is a standout player in the server, and it was QB. He went 38 kills to 8 deaths, 384 damage a minute, almost 100 more than anyone else on the
Oh my
server.
lord.
It was, wow, a virtuoso performance by QB. He put his team on his back. Jesus Christ.
And the hero of Sunshine turns into the hero of the series itself. Not only was he the sole responsible player for getting the only round on Sunshine, he was also the driving force in his team's comeback on Process. Uh, Not TF2 hard, by the way, as the log shows. It is 3.5 stars. So sorry for that. But either way, he was the only one to break the 10,000 damage barrier too. 384 DPM. Oh my lord. And nearly doubling the amount of damage that he took. So like if there is an MVP for the match, it is most definitively and unanimously QB.
For sure, yeah. I mean, looking at the numbers from the rest of the players, everyone I think put in a solid showing. No one you can really point to as standing out or in either a positive or negative way, aside from QB, who just put in a miracle. To be honest, it looked very much against them, but that's just huge stuff. That's a crazy stat line from QB.
Well, that is the end for the Germans, like I said, but it will be the Frenchmen moving on, but they won't be on Fireside anymore. As for day 3, it will be all Essentials TF. All the action can be caught over there on their stream. And thank you to JMax, Supra, and the Poland crew for giving me, Dave, and the others on Fireside the opportunity to cast this LAN. Dave, before we close up, do you have any shout outs before we end this stream?
Yeah, big shout out to Davey and Cannon, my two biggest supporters and fans. Shout out to the teams for making this some very entertaining stuff, particularly that last map was fantastic stuff. And obviously, just shout out to everyone who's worked on the land behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that has to go on to make an event like this happen, but it's what keeps TF2 alive.
Yes, and I will give my shout outs to you for saving us on day 1, and also to the rest of our Fireside crew for putting on an amazing remote production. Thank you to everybody on our side, and thank you to Essentials TF for lending us their graphics for this LAN. And thank you to JMax again, like I said, and Supra. So, with that being said, if you guys want to support us, hit us with the follow button. Yes, I'm going to sell us out because we are close to 3,000 followers. And that is it for us and our coverage at the poLANd 2024 Winter LAN. Go check out Essentials TF for tomorrow. Thank you all and have a good night.